Welcome back, Brooklyn Nets fans or Warriors fans, whoever's watching. First off, congrats to the Warriors fans out there. You guys played a hell of a game. I could sit here and be a sore loser about it, but no, you guys came in the Barclays and honestly kicked the Nets' ass. It is what it is. I got to be honest. There's a lot to talk about this game. It wasn't the best Nets game I've watched this year. It's funny. Every time the Nets have lost, it's been by 13 plus, the broadcast said. So the Nets have not had a heartbreaking loss yet, but this one just, it left a bad taste in my mouth. I'm sure every Nets fan feels the same way. Losing this game 117-99, and it was worse at one point. The Nets barely scored in the second half. They put up 18 in the third quarter and 23 in the fourth quarter, which is mostly garbage time points. The Nets have had too many quarters in recent games, I would say the last 5 games or so, where they just completely did nothing in a quarter. They had that fourth quarter against Chicago, which was on a back-to-back. They did nothing. Then they had a fourth quarter against, I think, was it the Pelicans or someone? I don't know. They had another quarter in there where they did nothing. They've had too many of those quarters where they just do nothing, and that's got to change. And I got to say, look, Steve Kerr outcoached the hell out of Steve Nash tonight. I always try to be fair to Steve Nash and say, look, the guy's still a young coach. Steve Kerr's been doing this for 8 years now or something, so he's been there for a while. But Steve Nash, look, he's been getting better this year, but it's just Steve Kerr and the Warriors as a whole looked like the much, much more well-prepared team tonight. The Warriors were throwing out all these different looks, these boxing ones in the fourth quarter, these triangle and twos, regular man-to-man defense, of course, but they were mixing and matching so well, and the Nets offense looked just lost the entire night. This was the worst and most rattled I've seen Kevin Durant look in a Nets uniform. If a Nets fan can remind me of a different game, go ahead, but this was I know KD put up 19 and he made some shots. He was really good in the first quarter, but from the second quarter on, Kevin Durant was just not himself. He was not making shots. His, even mid-range pull-up jumpers were way off. He had one that bounced off the rim, went over the backboard. He was just not himself whatsoever. And Kevin Durant was leading the NBA in scoring heading into this game, of course. But back to the whole coaching thing, you can just tell who's the better coach team. You can take off the lettering on the front of the jersey and not know which coach is which, and you can tell, okay, that team is a lot better coached than the other team. And the Warriors are that team that's much better coached, of course. And even their offensive sets were really good. The Nets, the Nets had a lot of problems with switches. Every time Blake Griffin got switched on to Curry, it was a disaster. Every time Jordan Poole was against LaMarcus Aldridge, we'll talk about that in a second, actually, but, that was a disaster as well. And there was just too many, a lot of shots, of course, were Steph Curry pulling up from 30, 35 feet. Okay, tough to defend that, I get it. But there were also a lot of sets for the Warriors where they got good looks. Andrew Wiggins had good looks. He also made some in the very contested shots as well. It's funny, when he made that shot at halftime, that's kind of when I was like, okay, this might not go our way. I was feeling okay about this game the first half, especially the first quarter. The Nets were up I think 28-22 in this game at one point, and I was feeling okay. But then the Warriors close out the second quarter nicely, and then, of course, Wiggins hits that very heavily contested jump shot for 3 over Kevin Durant, and I think the Warriors went into the half up by 5. And when they came out in the third quarter, the Nets have been a good third quarter team this year. That's the funny part. The Nets were a good third quarter team. Apparently the Warriors were the best in the NBA, so we saw that tonight. But the Warriors came out in the third quarter, and they put up a 6-0 run real quick. Nets called a timeout, and it just kept going from there. Now, I will say, we got a break. We had that one play where it was when Steph Curry got kicked in the face by Blake Griffin. So basically, Curry poked the ball away when the Nets got a rebound, defensive rebound. Curry poked the ball away, dove for it, and then him and Blake Griffin kind of got tied up. And it wasn't even a foul on Steph, but they called a foul on Steph. Steph had 4 fouls early in the third quarter. They put him on the bench, but the Warriors still found a way to expand their lead somehow without Steph Curry. That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying the Warriors are way better coached than we were. Even when Steph Curry was out, the Warriors had all the answers, and the Nets still had no idea what they were doing on offense. They had some moments on offense. James Harden had some nice drives to his left and had some some nice three-point shots. It was funny, that one three-pointer that James Harden made on the 4-point play where he missed a free throw because the ball don't lie. But he had that one play where he made a three-pointer off the backboard, and the dude didn't even foul him. I thought the officiating tonight was really not that good, and I can't get fined for saying that, luckily. But I'm not making an excuse, by the way, but I'm just saying the refs in both ways were just really not that good in this game. On that James Harden and one three-point shot, the dude wasn't even touched. Like, I think they thought that Peyton touched his elbow, but the replay showed he literally didn't touch him. And Peyton didn't overreact. I don't know why, but the officiating was really not that great. So really with this game, the reason the Nets lost really was because their offense got nothing going and Steph Curry was unbelievable. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes great players have great outings, and sometimes when players go to New York, we saw it with LeBron and D-Wade, every time they played at the Garden, they would just put on these great performances. Sometimes when guys play in New York, they just have these big games. It is what it is. But the Nets, they did not shoot well. 38% from the field as compared to the Warriors' 51%. The Nets shot 27% from three as compared to the Warriors' 32. 32 is not even that great, but, it's funny. The Warriors made 13 threes total, and I can't remember anyone else other than Curry and Wiggins making ones. I mean, maybe Poole had one or two, but it's hard to remember anybody else. So the Nets just did not shoot the ball well, but I can't just throw up my hands and say, well, they had an off shooting night. No, a lot of it was because the Warriors had so much defensive pressure and the Nets had so many sets that were just garbage. Like, there would be 5 seconds left on the shot clock and Patty Mills would be near half court trying to dribble out of a double team. And like, there were so many offensive possessions that were just not going well. They had no idea what they were doing. So it's concerning. And I will say, look, the Nets have had, I would say so far in the Nets, 15 games, I think so far. They're 10-5 now. So we played 15 games. The Nets, in my opinion, have played 3 elite teams, and maybe 4. Maybe you can throw the Hawks in there. I don't put the Hawks in that same category as title contender. Hawks fans may hate me for that, but I know they got further than us last year. I get it, but still, I don't fear them like I do the other teams. But the teams I'm talking about was the Bucks opening night, where the Nets lost by a lot. Then we had the Sixers game, which was the second game of the year. The Nets had a 17-1 run to close out that game and luckily got the win, but they should have lost that game in Philly. And then this game against Golden State, where, of course, they got their doors blown off in the third quarter and lost the game by a lot. So the Nets are very close to being 0-3 against good competition, like really good competition. Like, a lot of the Nets wins this year is kind of beating up on bad opponents. Like, we've seen games against the Pacers, we played the Pelicans, we just played the Thunder. There have been some wins in there where it's like, okay, you won, but who are you beating? They're not like, you have to win the games you're supposed to win. I get that, but when we've seen those big key matchups against teams that are actual title contenders, the Nets have not really fared that well. They're 1-2 and could have easily been 0-3. So as a Nets fan, am I concerned about that? Yeah. I mean, look, I know that Kyrie's not here, but you can say the same thing for the Warriors. Klay Thompson's not there either. I can't make all the excuses in the world. Are the Nets a better team with Kyrie? Absolutely, but I don't know if Kyrie's coming back. I used to feel confident about it, but now I don't know. We'll see what happens. I still like to believe he'll be back by the playoffs, but I have no idea. I think the loss of Joe Harris, honestly, I didn't think it would matter this much, but for some reason, you could tell not having Joe Harris there was affecting this team a lot, especially offensively. Joe Harris's defense, you're not going to miss that very often, but Joe Harris has that ability to move without the ball, kind of like Bruce Brown does, but Joe Harris at least brings a three-point upside. Bruce Brown did play well today, but he's not the three-point shooter that Joe Harris is. So Joe Harris, is always filling in those right spots on offense and at least has a threat of making three-point shots, unlike a Bruce Brown or, I know Patty Mills filled in, did a pretty nice job, but Patty Mills doesn't really play the same style of basketball that Joe Harris does. And Joe Harris has started every single game for this team so far, so to not have him for the first time in this game was tough, I will say that. But, not having Joe Harris should not be the reason you lose by 30 points to the Warriors. That's not really an acceptable excuse in my opinion. So let's talk about the LaMarcus Aldridge thing. So LaMarcus Aldridge tonight he played 9 minutes in this game. If you told me that before the game, I would have thought he got hurt or something mid-game, but no, he came in for the first time in the middle of the third quarter, and Nash was kind of just throwing crap at the wall and seeing what was sticking at that point because the Nets were just not playing well. They brought in Cam Thomas in the third quarter. They were just trying everything to get some offense going. And I was a bit frustrated because LaMarcus Aldridge has been really good this year. He hasn't been like the Portland and San Antonio Aldridge, but he's close. You know what I mean? He's been playing very well and shooting the heck out of the ball, especially from the mid-range. Now, you can make the argument, of course, that the Warriors are a very fast-paced team. There's a lot of switching against them on defense. That's probably why it wasn't a good matchup for LaMarcus Aldridge. I completely get that part of it. But when you're Steve Nash and you see your team is struggling for offense, I don't know why they didn't go to LaMarcus Aldridge sooner. And I think Blake Griffin played well in this game, so it's not like Blake Griffin was garbage and they just put him in for no reason. But LaMarcus Aldridge, especially the end of the first quarters, has always been that guy to pick up that Nets offense. And when the Nets started to go downhill, it was towards the end of the first quarter, because once again, I said the Nets were up 28-22 at one point in this game, I believe. So there was a point when the offense was going well, and then the Warriors made their adjustments, and the Nets could not adjust. But if they brought in LaMarcus Aldridge and he added another element to this offense, maybe things could have been different. You know what I mean? So I get that the Warriors have a lot of versatile guys, and the only guy that's kind of comparable to LaMarcus Aldridge is Kayvon Looney, and Looney at this point in his career is a much better athlete than LaMarcus Aldridge. So I get that part of it, but LaMarcus Aldridge just makes up for a lot of it based on his offense. I know he can't play the best defense, especially on the perimeter, but LaMarcus Aldridge as a shot maker, a pick and pop type guy, a guy that you can just have face up to the basket and make those 10, 15-foot shots. It would have been great to have in this offense, but they didn't play him, and I'm sure it was part of the game plan, and it is what it is. So maybe next time the Nets play a team like Golden State, the Nets play the Warriors in the end of January 29th, I saw, or something like that. So they'll get a shot again, and maybe LaMarcus Aldridge plays in that game. But, for now, it was a bit surprising. I'll put it that way. I did not go into this game expecting LaMarcus Aldridge to not play in the first half. I'm not going to act like I scouted the Warriors and knew what they were doing on offense. Obviously, the Nets are going to scout them and do their homework, but I guess they thought not playing LaMarcus was the best thing. So, it could have worked, but the Nets, of course, did nothing on offense in this game, especially the final 3 quarters, and, that's what happens. So let's go down the list here of Nets players. Blake Griffin played 23 minutes. He took 3 charges. Love seeing that, but Blake Griffin still is not doing it with the shooting just yet. He only had 4 points in this game, and he just struggles so much with his 3-point shot right now. Any perimeter shot Blake Griffin takes, you just know it's not going in. So he's in a bad spot right now. Probably has no confidence with his jump shot, but he keeps shooting it. So hopefully at some point it turns around. Stan Van Gundy kept saying that his jump shot will turn around, so I hope he's right. I think he used to coach him, I'm pretty sure, no, maybe not. I don't know, I forget. But Kevin Durant, I talked about, very off game. This is one of the worst games Durant's played as a Net, and hopefully we'll just throw it out, and he'll be back tomorrow, hopefully. Patty Mills filled in for Joe Harris today. Patty Mills started off pretty hot, made a couple shots early, but didn't really do much the rest of the game. It was nice to have an extra ball handler out there, which, Joe Harris does not give you that. So I guess Patty Mills was useful for that, but still, Patty Mills did not have a great game. James Harden was okay. James Harden scoring-wise was fine in my opinion. Had 24 tonight in 32 minutes. But James Harden just had a couple of plays where it annoyed me. And he does that every night. Like, James Harden, as much as I like him as a Nets player, he does do some things that I just can't stand. And he's had a couple of just like careless turnovers tonight. And that happens sometimes. He had one where in the first quarter, very early, it was like a 4-2 game at that point, and James Harden traveled. He just, was pivoting at half court and then stepped on his other foot, and they called the travel on the pass. So that was bad. He had one on a play that was supposed to be like a pick and pop, and he tried to throw a bounce pass, and the defender knocked it away. So, James Harden was a bit predictable at some points, but, overall, he wasn't really a big problem in this game, and he definitely helped. Bruce Brown played well. I will say Bruce Brown had 14 points in 27 minutes. I think he made a 3-pointer or 2. He was important in this game. Had some offensive rebounds as well. Definitely a good energy player for us. So Bruce Brown was definitely not a problem tonight. He had a bullcrap foul called on him. There was that one play. It was a loose ball foul with him and Draymond going for a rebound, and Draymond was the one that basically put his hand over his face, I think. And for some reason they called the foul on Bruce Brown, and you could see by the slow motion replay. Bruce Brown was not happy with that call. So once again, I'm not going to blame the refs for why we lost, but it was a terribly officiated game in my opinion. DeAndre Bembry played 31 minutes, and he had 9 points, 5 rebounds. Bembry came in and actually was playing good defense on Steph for a couple of possessions, but then, of course, Steph got the better of him as the game went on. But he definitely had some good energy in this game, but he wasn't shooting the ball that well. He missed, I think, 3 foul shots in this game, so, yeah, it wasn't that great. Javon Carter, Cam Thomas, it was just whatever. Didn't see much from those guys. Kessler Edwards came in. Kessler Edwards was a second-round pick this year, I believe. Came in and scored 8 points, made a couple threes. That was good to see. So, that's about it. The Nets play tomorrow, actually, so I hate back-to-backs. I said this on Twitter. I hate back-to-backs, but this is the one instance where I love it because I just want to get over this loss and hopefully beat a Cavaliers team that I saw as 9-6. I think Jared Allen's out tomorrow, which kind of sucks, but it's also great because I don't want to play against him, but I also love Jared Allen, so I don't want to see that, but it's also good because the Nets would definitely benefit from not playing him. You get what I mean? So the Nets play the Cavs tomorrow, and I don't know if anyone's going to rest or not. Not really sure. KD and Harden played 32 minutes. That's not the most minutes in the world, so I would think they should play tomorrow, but we'll see. Hopefully they don't lose back-to-back games, but I just want to come out there tomorrow and beat them, hopefully pretty comfortably, and we'll get back to where we have to be and hopefully get to 11-5. So right now the Nets are 10-5, and I mentioned a lot of those wins are against bad teams, but they are taking care of business when they need to, but they are 1-2 against teams that I consider finals contenders. So that's a bit concerning, but we'll see how it goes as some of the tougher competition comes up later in the season. So that will do it for this video, the instant reaction. I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. I mean, probably not. It's actually crazy. Looking at the box scores right now and just like the team stats, the Nets only had 11 turnovers and they had 12 steals compared to the Warriors' 21 turnovers and they only had 4 steals. I don't know, like, it's very weird to see that. Of course, they had a lot more points in the paint, 52 to our 36, but I thought the Nets had a lot more than 11 turnovers. It did not feel like that whatsoever. Maybe this is wrong. I don't know, but 11 turnovers feels like it's just not a lot. It felt much worse than that. Anyway, once again, that'll do it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Any Nets fans out there, by the way, I'm probably going to make a Nets podcast at some point. I always like to keep my content consistent, and everything I do is NFL based except for the Nets videos, so I might just put my Nets stuff on a podcast at some point. I will keep you guys updated for sure. I'll let you guys know on Twitter. I'll let you guys know on YouTube, and we'll figure that out. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys next time.